The top stories tonight in Y News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. urges fellow APEC leaders to tackle challenges in shipping and logistics services and to support green post-pandemic recovery.
The Saudi Arabian government promises to pay the unsettled salary of thousands of OFWs from bankrupt construction firms.
Justice Secretary Crispin Rumula challenges suspended Buca Chief General Gerald Bantag to prove his allegations in the proper forum.
And around 10 million Ukrainians are without power following a recent wave of Russian attacks.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, November 18, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Giorna Privado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Annie Mancilia.
First in the news, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. had joined with fellow APEC leaders in a retreat session and informal dialogue in Bangkok, Thailand. The president wants the APEC members to tackle challenges in shipping and logistics services. Nel Maribohokt reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. wants the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation members' economies to pay close attention to challenges confronting the region's services sector, particularly shipping and logistics services, which serve as the backbone of global trade and investment. During the APEC leaders' informal dialogues, President Marcos Jr. cited the case of the Philippines, where business absorbed up to 30% of cost from logistics alone and has one of the highest rates in the region. As a remedy, the president called on governments to eliminate all forms of discrimination, especially for products coming from micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, adding these are ways to address non-trade and other related measures without depriving businesses and MSMEs of access and participation in supply chains. He also highlighted the essential role of maritime crew, the maritime industry, and the transport sector in ensuring robust and resilient global supply chains and post-pandemic recovery. Also, PBBM, during the 29th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting retreat session, called for the adoption of policies that promote a green pandemic recovery as the world emerges from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the president, the bio-circular green economy model aligns with his administration's agenda to create green and quality jobs. DFA Assistant Secretary Eric Tamayo of the Multilateral Affairs and International Economic Relations said the all APEC leaders' statements are aligned with President Marcos' pronouncement.
Most of the statements coming from the leaders actually align and parallel the president's pronouncements as well. So we can say that there's a lot of agreement on the Philippines' stand on promoting this biocircular green economy and collective and concerted action to address climate change and also addressing the challenges that face the economy of the region, including rising prices.
Nel Maribohokt, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Saudi government has promised to pay the unsettled salary of thousands of OFWs from bankrupt construction firms. This was discussed during the bilateral meeting of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Kat Dumaraos will give us the details live. Yes, Kat?
Annie, around 10,000 overseas Filipino workers or OFWs who worked for Saudi construction companies that declared bankruptcy in 2015 and 2016 and had unpaid salaries will be shouldered by the Saudi government. This was announced during the bilateral meeting of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC summit here in Bangkok, Thailand. Department of Migrant Workers or DMW Secretary Susan Ople said that construction companies such as Saudi OGR, MMG, the Bin Laden Group haven't paid back the OFWs. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was overjoyed by the news and said that the Crown Prince prepared for their meeting and that this was his gift. The Saudi government set aside 2 billion rials or 30.5 billion pesos to help the displaced workers, according to Secretary Ople. To prevent this from happening in the future, the chief executive said that Saudi Arabia's labor minister will set an insurance system for Filipino workers going to the kingdom. The two leaders also discussed the OFWs going to Saudi Arabia, as well as other opportunities for investment. Annie?
Thank you, Kat Dumaraos from Bangkok, Thailand.
Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla has challenged the suspended Bucco Chief General Gerald Bantag to prove his allegations in the proper forum. Dante Amento reports.
In his recent interview, suspended Bureau of Corrections Chief Gerald Bantag accused Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla as behind the video of his alleged luxurious vehicles and house in Laguna. The video was shown during the program of the slain broadcaster Percy Lapid in September, but Remulla told Bantag to prove his allegation.
Prove it, di ba? Wala naman eh. These are bare allegations of it. I don't wanna say anything.
Bantag also disclosed that Remulla ordered to process the release of 2 inmates under the DOJ's Witness Protection Program or WPP. The suspended official identified them as Angelberto Durano and Nunilo Arile, who are allegedly drug lords, but the Justice Chief denied this.
I have no knowledge of that.
Meanwhile, on Bantag's call for Remulla to resign and that he will not surrender if the Justice Chief remains in his post, Remulla said it is Bantag's prerogative.
Well, up to him. His lawyers know better. He should ask his lawyers what he should do.
November 23 would be the start of the preliminary investigation of murder complaints against Bantag. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police will declare full alert status starting December 15. They will deploy 85% of the full police force in places of convergence for the security of the public during the holiday season. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police or PNP will beef up their deployment for the holiday season. PNP spokesperson Police Colonel Jean Fajardo said they will declare full alert status on December 15 and deploy 85% of their personnel to all potential spots of convergence, such as mall, flea markets, churches, terminals, among others. Because of this, the PNP cancels the leave of PNP personnel from December 15 to January 10.
Ibig sabihin, wala na pong pwedeng mag-leave effective December 15 para masiguro po na may sapat po tayong bilang para masiguro po na yung maximum police presence na objective ng ating Chief PNP ay makomply.
The PNP also have soft deployment in some places of convergence as early as the start of bare months.
This early po ay may mga soft deployment na po tayo sa mga areas of convergence dahil ang bilin po ng ating Chief PNP ay isustain po yung maximum police presence po natin kagaya po nung ginawa po natin ng Ondas at nakita po natin ay wala po tayong na-record na significant incident at yan din po yung security framework na gustong sundin ng ating Chief PNP.
Colonel Fajardo added to augment the number of their personnel on the ground. Police with administrative work will also be deployed come holiday season.
So even yung ating mga pulis na nagre-render po ng administrative duties are required to render patrol duties para i-augment po yung ating mga pulis na nagre-render po ng police and beat patrols.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for our news abroad, top Democrat Nancy Pelosi, the first woman to hold U.S. speakership, said she would not seek a leadership role in the next Congress to make way for the new generation. Marvi Delphine will give us the details live. Yes, Marvi?
Giona, on Thursday local time, U.S. House Speaker Pelosi announced on the House floor the end of her historic 20-year tenure to allow a new generation of leaders to take charge. Pelosi's speech was met with a standing ovation from Democrat lawmakers and a few Republicans that attended in short notice. Let us hear briefly from Pelosi's remarks.
My friends, no matter what title you all, my colleagues, have bestowed upon me, Speaker, Leader, Whip, there is no greater official honor for me than to stand on this floor and to speak for the people of San Francisco. This I will continue to do as a member of the House, speaking for the people of San Francisco, serving the great state of California, and defending our Constitution. And with great confidence in our caucus, I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress. For me, the hours come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect. And I'm grateful that so many are ready and willing to shoulder this awesome responsibility.
Her decision also came after the Republican Party secured a slim House majority in last week's midterm elections, as well as in the aftermath of the brutal attack on her husband, Paul Pelosi, last month in their San Francisco residence. Ms. Pelosi has led the Democrats through achievements such as the passage of the Affordable Care Act with President Barack Obama and key moments such as the impeachment of President Donald Trump. U.S. President Joe Biden said in a tweet that history would remember Pelosi, who was sworn in as Speaker in 2007 and re-elected twice, as the most consequential Speaker of the House of Representatives. Meanwhile, New York lawmaker Hakeem Jeffries has been endorsed to be the next Democratic leader. Mr. Jeffries is part of the younger Democratic leaders that has been poised to ascend, along with Representatives Catherine Clark of Massachusetts and Pete Aguilar of California. If Mr. Jeffries secures the position in the coming weeks, he would become the first Black politician to lead a House or Senate caucus for either party. Back to you, Giona.
Thank you, Marvi, for that live report. Exactly 8 years after the incident, the perpetrators responsible for taking down the Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 has been found guilty and charged to life in prison. Jane Robles gives us the details live. Yes, Jane?
For the tragedy of the Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 named Igor Girkin and Sergei Dubinsky and a Ukrainian Leonid Karchenko. Ruling judge of the criminal court in Hague, Netherlands, Hendrik Steenhuis, sentenced the men in absentia to life in prison, saying that it was the only appropriate charge. Evidence proved the three men transported a Russian-built missile system into Ukraine and used it to take down the MH17, killing 283 passengers and 15 crew members. The tragedy happened at the low conflict zone in Ukraine, where fighting between Ukraine and Russia moved to the air, resulting in military planes being shut down at the time. Meanwhile, the current whereabouts of the three men are unknown, but they are believed to be in Russia or Russian-governed areas of Ukraine. Unless they fly internationally, there is a high possibility that the man will not be facing jail. Giona, the court hopes that the sentences brings the victims' relatives some relief, knowing it cannot take away the pain and suffering. Back to you, Giona.
Thank you, Jane, for that live report.
Fish is still the main source of protein for Filipinos based on the latest survey by the Food and Nutrition Research Institute. But more households still experience insufficient intake of nutrients. Wild-caught fishes is diminishing with increasing prices, but there are still other alternatives for consumers to choose from. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Food and Nutrition Research Institute, or FNRI, noted that only 55.1% of Filipino households meet the recommended protein intake based on the 2028-2029 expanded National Nutrition Survey of the agency. Wild-caught fishes give a good portion of protein, but the challenge is the availability and the increasing prices. Prices of locally produced round scad, for example, now reach 240 pesos per kilogram. This is almost equivalent to half of the daily salary of a minimum wage earner.
Yung mga wild caught naman, ang concern po natin is nagkakaroon ng overfishing. So, mas konti na yung nagiging supply.
The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources is now implementing fishing ban in Palawan and Visayan Sea. The Department of Agriculture is campaigning for other fish options like those in aquaculture like milkfish and tilapia, which has lower prices. Tilapia only priced at 120 pesos per kilogram while milkfish at 180. FNRI said that these fishes may also be sources of protein but not as good as those caught in the ocean.
Yung ating mga galunggong or tuna nasa around 25 grams per 100 gram, unlike sa mga tilapia or milkfish around 20 grams per 100 grams yung protein. So mas mababa ng konti. Pero again, they are still good sources of protein po. So pwede pa rin po natin silang kainin.
FNRI sees the need for more support for small fisher folks because they supply more fish in markets than the commercial fishing vessels. The Agriculture Department already allowed the importation of 25,000 tons of fish to maintain stable prices. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Migrant Workers will be holding a job and livelihood fair for displaced ex-Saudi overseas Filipino workers, including their family members. Nearly 17,000 jobs will be available for job seekers. Janice Inhenta reports.
A special job fair for former overseas Filipino workers or OFWs in Saudi Arabia and their family members is set to be held tomorrow, November 19, in Mandaluyong City. Job vacancies will be both for the domestic and overseas workforce in partnership with the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE and other government agencies as well as private sector partners. Over 11,000 overseas postings from 46 land-based recruitment agencies with 8,000 job offers and almost 3,000 openings from 7 manning or sea-based agencies will be made available, while 6,000 local job offerings as well as various livelihood opportunities will also be offered from 5 private employers in need of 4,526 workers and public employment services offices with 1,440 job vacancies. According to DMW Secretary Susan Ople, the said special job fair aims to bring government closer to the people through its agency's job and reintegration fairs from displaced OFWs and their families. For interested applicants, a special job fair will begin at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Star Mall at the corner of EDSA and Shaw Boulevard. Janice Enhente, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Transportation confirms interest of some private companies in the public-private partnership project for the EDSA busway. JP Nunez will tell us why.
The process for the privatization of the EDSA busway has already started. In November 16, the Public-Private Partnership Center and the Department of Transportation or DOTR began the preliminary market sounding exercise for the transport sector projects. Among the first batch opened for private investment is the EDSA Carousel, which is currently operated by the government. DOTR said that there are companies which are having interest to take over the operation of the EDSA bus carousel.
Merong mga companies na nagtatanong, no? Siguro pag nagtatanong sila, may interest, di ba? So meron, no?
Transportation Secretary Bautista is optimistic that EDSA busway privatization would lead to the improvement of its establishments, facilities, and its terminals for the comfort of the passengers.
Pag naging efficient yung operations niya, no? That would mean maganda rin yung magiging service niya, no? Magiging convenient and comfortable yung mga pasahero natin, no? And kung maganda yung operations nila, ibig sabihin may mga savings sila, hindi sila basta-basta hihingi ng increase in fares.
Meanwhile, a new terminal of EDSA busway was inaugurated today at the 1 Ayala Avenue in Makati City. This will cater those passengers who are going southbound or in the areas of Pasay and Parañaque. DOTR and Ayala Land Corporation said the new integrated terminal can accommodate up to 300,000 passengers on a daily basis. Aside from EDSA Carousel, the terminal will also serve for the other mode of transportations such as MRT3, public utility vehicle, and public utility jeep. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
World Health Organization Director General expects the arrival of the first doses of experimental Ebola vaccines next week, targeting the strain causing the current outbreak in Uganda. Ruth Bahe will tell us why live. Yes, Ruth?
Giona, officials have now reported 141 cases, including 55 deaths of Sudan strain of Ebola. This is the first outbreak of Sudan strain in Uganda in more than 10 years, and unlike the more common Zaire strain, there is no vaccine available yet. In a press conference, World Health Organization or WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus announced the 3 vaccine candidates to be used in trials.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that a WHO committee of external experts has evaluated 3 candidate vaccines and agreed that all 3 should be included in the planned trial in Uganda. WHO and Uganda's Minister of Health have considered and accepted the committee's recommendation. We expect that first dose of vaccine to be shipped to Uganda next week.
The efforts to slow down the Ebola outbreak in Uganda is successful in most districts. However, the 9th district have reported its first case in the past week. The agency estimates about 40% of the current fatality rate and more than 1,000 close contacts, mostly spread through bodily fluids, are being tracked by the government officials and partners. The WHO did not confirm the exact details and number of doses to be delivered and used in Uganda, but according to WHO's R&D blueprint for epidemics co-lead Ana Maria Henao Restrepo, they received confirmation that there will be enough vaccine available for the trials and beyond. Back to you, Gio, now.
Thank you, Ruth, for that live report. An estimated 10 million Ukrainians are without power following a recent wave of Russian attacks. From London, United Kingdom, here's Jella Garmino to tell us the details live. Yes, Jella?
Jonah, President Volodymyr Zelensky stated on Thursday in a the recent Russian missile attacks on energy infrastructures and civilian buildings nationwide, 10 million Ukrainians have no power. The recent attacks came less than 2 days after the heaviest bombardments the nation suffered so far, with Russia strategically targeting more energy installations after setbacks on the battlefield. The nationwide assaults resulting in power outages combined with the low winter temperatures are intensely felt by citizens in the capital Kiev, as well as the cities of Vinnytsia in the west, Odessa in the southwest, and Sumy in the northeast. The number of casualties from the recent attacks is still expected to rise, with 7 people killed in the southern city of Zaporizhzhia. Military authorities reported that 4 cruise missiles and 5 Iranian-made drones have been shot down in defense. President Zelensky stated that Russia does not want peace, but rather is bringing only as much pain and suffering as possible to his compatriots. Additionally, he calls for Ukraine's partners to offer full protection over the Ukrainian sky, reasoning to prompt the end of war with Russia. Back to you, Jonah.
Thank you, Jella Gamino, reporting live from London, United Kingdom. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe.
Speaker Martin Romualdez on Friday has assured the commitment of the House of Representatives to provide the legal framework for the country's digital transformation to narrow the digital divide among the Asia-Pacific region's economies for economic recovery and inclusive growth. Romualdez stressed the approval of a consolidated version of the proposed Internet Transaction Act, or e-commerce law, by the House Committee on Trade and Industry. This bill intends to create an e-commerce bureau for the regulation of internet commercial activities and provide security for consumers' online transactions. In a statement, he said that they are working for the passage of the bill since this is among the 20 priority measures that was previously mentioned by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in his State of the Nation address. Romualdez is the principal author of the proposed E-Governance Act of 2022. Among the co-authors are House Senior Deputy Majority Leader and Ilocos Norte Representative Ferdinand Alexander Marcos and Timog Party List Representative Yeda Marie Romualdez and Jude Asidre.
The Police Regional Office, or PRO 4B, Mima Ropa, assured on Friday that the PNP has placed heightened security measures for the upcoming visit of the United States Vice President Kamala Harris to the province of Palawan next week. As part of her official trip to the country, Harris, being the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit Puerto Princesa City, has planned to meet with the president's civil society leaders and the representatives of the Philippine Coast Guard on November 22. In a statement, PRO 4B spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Clyde Calyawan shared their efforts to assure security in the province during the visit of the U.S. second highest official. Meanwhile, Philippine National Police spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo mentioned that the Presidential Security Group would lead the security preparations for the upcoming visit. Harris's upcoming visit to the province will be followed by the bilateral meetings with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Vice President Sara Duterte in Manila on November 21. The meeting with the President Marcos would point out on strengthening the Philippine security alliances and economic relationship with the Washington, D.C. Harris would be flying to the country from Thailand on November 20. Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word giving glory to God from the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 35. It says, "The wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools." And those are the reasons behind the news. November 18, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Annie Mancilia.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am Gianna Pravado. We serve the people, we give glory to God.